What is the superpower of a COO that's most underappreciated?
The ability to say no. The reason I say is founders come up with 10 different, 20 different ideas, but then they rely on a COO to distill them down into one or two ideas that really will drive the most impact for the company at the stage that the company is in.
Some COOs do that by saying no directly. Others just kind of ignore it and let the craziness go into the abyss. Sounds like you're a no guy.
I'm a no guy, and I'll give you an example from my prior company. There were so many examples where the founder would directly get reached by our team, and founder would just smile at them or not say no to them, and then they would go to other people. Hey, I already spoke to the founder of the company. I'm going to do this. But that random act of doing things was actually creating insane instability in the company. Like, it was like those electrons, when they are not energized, they go all over the place.
There's an art to saying no. How do you do it well?
The key out here is to really have pros and cons for each of the different ideas, let's say the founder actually came up with or any other leader came up with, and having your own point of view. Why it makes sense to focus on one or two of those and not on others. Which ones are going to be accretive to the vision and mission of the company? Which of the ideas are not going to be accretive? And when you actually tie that with also the financial outcomes for the company, it makes it easier.
Speaking of superpowers, you and I met because you gave me feedback. And somehow I walked away from our feedback conversation feeling better than when I walked in. How'd you do that?
It's actually very important to connect people at the people level first. I remember when we met first time, we spoke about our family, we spoke about our interests. We met at a restaurant that we both liked actually. That itself was a good start. It just makes then conversation much more easier. And the way I remember I actually shared the feedback with you was founder to founder conversation with a genuine desire to make Vouch as a company better, to make Vouch product better. And I do believe that that was one of the big reasons that you came out of our conversation feeling much better.
What is an operator and what makes for a great operator?
I think the operator is the one who brings all the ideas, all the data together to drive the right actions in the company. And in a company, that operator could be a CFO, could be a COO. Ideally, these roles are merging, and in Nirvana state, I see the role called CFOO, wherein it's the same person who is actually the operator.
You've talked about this idea of the CFO and the COO merging into the CFOO. Tell me more about what that looks like.
The COO actually has the similar objective, but COO comes from the operational side of things. They are driving different initiatives. Sometimes they may have the data or a BI team under them, but at the end, they all have to work together. You don't need two different functions trying to vie for different resources, trying to vie for the airtime to drive the same conversation. Imagine if the data team, the BI team, and the finance and the FP&A team, they're all just working together. They come with an aligned presentation on what the direction the company should be going down. And if there is only one leader in the company, I call them CFOO, driving that decision with the rest of the leaders. You have simplified the processes. In that process, you have also increased the pace at which you can drive the success in the company.
How have you seen the role of a CFO evolve over the years?
Traditionally, the CFO and the organization pretty much were deemed as sitting in the ivory tower, wherein they are the guardians of the data, and they will provide information only to the small selected set of leaders and when needed. Since then, the demand of the role has changed significantly. Now you need to empower the CFO and the finance team. They need to empower the business leaders with that information real time so that the business leaders can make decisions today, not at the end of the month, not at the end of the quarter when they get to see that guarded data from the CFO. So the role has evolved significantly. It's real time. It's more of a strategic business partner. And that's where I bring that concept of CFOO. If it is the same person who is the CFO and the COO, then this whole concept of that I need to keep this data with me, I need to provide it only at the end of the month, that goes away. Because now my objective is to think about how I am going to drive the business today. That means I need to provide the data to the business leaders. I need to actually drive that right decisions today rather than at the end of the month.
So tell me about the biggest challenges facing finance teams today.
One of the big challenges that finance teams are facing is burnout, and it is driven by multitude of asks of them, be it how's the company doing, how's the forecast looking like, where should we be investing more versus less, or what type of solutions should we be bringing to drive the compliance and the legal cost down, for example, on the insurance side of things.
What advice would you give to operators now that you've been in that founder seat?
Biggest advice I would give to an operator is to keep the founders in check and balance and not just be a yes person to them. Because founders are going to actually come up with a lot of ideas. But then they are also looking for a healthy conflict. For somebody who can actually really tell them yes and mentality. It's the yes and mentality. Yes, I love what you are saying, and let's look at the pros and cons of these and help us as founder come to select focus areas which actually would be beneficial for the company.